Well, this is Gray Eagle. I got an article here I wanted to bring to your attention. It's called "Why Are Law-Abiding Citizens Considered a Threat?" Well, the dead in Tucson are not even in their graves, and the Second Amendment hating crowd and those of that ilk are already screaming for more gun control all over the radio, television, and print media. But this is to be expected, as this is their modus operandi, method of operation. They have done this time and time again over the years to promote their agenda of death to others, while these limousine liberals sit in their multi-million-dollar gated communities with their 24-hour, 365 private security armies with more armaments than many banana republics, including night vision goggles, two-way radios, closed-circuit TV systems, and street sweeper shotguns. So even more folks can die a la Tucson. They should be ashamed of themselves. They have used this emotionalism to get Congress to act quickly, while these types of tragedies are fresh in the minds of the nation. They have used this momentum quite successfully over many times over the years, and it's high time to put a stop to it, in my opinion. Here's an example. One so-called expert on the subject of gun control on a nationally televised network, they would want me to mention the name of the show here, at around 7 p.m. on April 23rd, 2007, said to have more people running around with guns does not solve the problem, but would only exacerbate it. This is the typical psychobabble that we hear continually from limousine liberal gang. Pure emotionalism with absolutely no substance and certainly no new solutions. It is these thought processes that enabled Gerald Laufer to go on his murderous rampage. Quote Lars Larson's talk radio host: "Laws that forbid carrying of guns disarm only those who neither are inclined nor determined to commit crimes." Quote Hal Lindsey. But to say that this tragedy was caused by the availability of guns simplistically fails to recognize the real source of the problem. There has never been a gun that killed anybody. It's the person wielding the weapon that kills. Typical limousine liberal thought processes are ones like this: guns kill. Why do you want every Tom, Dick, and Harry running around with one? The answer is law-abiding citizens who, when properly trained and licensed in their state, have every right to defend themselves and their families from such attacks. Notice the cute little phrase, the anti-Second Amendment crowd, every Tom, Dick, and Harry running around with guns, everyone packing heat. And my all-time favorite, what do you want, to return to the Wild West? These tricky little catchphrases may be cute to the gun grabber, but they are in reality evil. How so, you may ask? They are nothing but phrases designed to do one thing, and one thing only, and that is to inflame emotionalistic hate responses in people against law-abiding citizens who own guns, the Second Amendment, concealed carry license laws, and all the rest. Let's examine a few of these catchphrases a little more closely. Return to the Wild West, for example. What would be so terribly wrong with that? After all, the West, Wild West, as they so cleverly put it, had a much lower crime rate per capita than our so-called civilized society that we live in today. 98%, if not all, crime in the Wild West came about as a result of persons hanging around the saloons of the Old West. Those that chose not to mingle with that crowd were snug as a bug in a rug and had nothing to worry about. It took a few rounds of hard liquor to get the cowboys in the mood to go on a rampage. Then only with others in the saloons. The crimes generally did not spill over into the streets. Where the more genteel society of the town resided. Ted Webb, a local Tampa Bay talk radio host, says an armed society is a polite society. What on earth would be wrong with a polite society? These limousine liberals, have no cute little catchphrase to counter that. Then the every Tom, Dick, and Harry running around with guns. Well, we are most definitely not talking about every Tom, Dick, and Harry. We're talking about law-abiding citizens that have a legitimate concern for themselves and their family's security, as well as being citizens who have chosen to legally purchase a weapon for the purpose of self-defense. Go through the proper background investigation to purchase, then go through the process to obtain a concealed carry license, which includes yet another background investigation, then 16 hours of classroom training. That depends on the state you're in. That varies with state to state. And range training, and then a waiting period. To get the license, before the license is issued, I have had a concealed carry permit myself, and the hoops you have to go through, not every Tom, Dick, and Harry are going to go through. Trust me on that one. Persons that are not genuinely interested in self-defense, we have no desire to force that person to carry or even purchase a weapon. But those that do and fit the criteria have every right to do so. Then the packing heat comment. Well, that rude and crude statement speaks for itself. Law-abiding citizens who carry a gun with proper license are no threat to anybody but the evildoer carrying out a crime. The right to self-defense comes from God and not government. Genesis 14:14. When Abraham heard his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them, and smote and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left of Damascus. Verse 16, and he brought back all of the goods he brought against his brother, and brought again his brother Lot and his goods, the women and the people. You see, the evildoers kidnapped the women, the children, everything. But they didn't count on Abraham coming after him. And he did. We see here that the Lord not only orders his people to be armed, but he also expects us to be properly trained in the use of the weapons. Notice in the Bible verse, he armed his trained servant. They were already trained. That means that we must also be always at the ready to defend ourselves and our family, to be ready to spring into action at a moment's notice, as Abraham's men were already trained. And finally, this passage teaches us that we must not only be armed and trained in their use, but sometimes we have to be willing to take the action, which Abraham, by the way, did not hesitate to do. Abram was, in today's vernacular, ready, willing, and able to strike back at wickedness. Now, in the New Testament, Luke 22:36 says this, Then he said unto them, But now he that hath a purse, let him take it, and likewise his scrip, and he that hath no sword, let him sell his house, let him sell his garment and buy one. Luke 22:38. And they said unto the Lord, Behold, here are 2 swords. And he said unto them, It is enough. Timothy 5:8. But if any man provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith, and is worse than an infidel. One of the most important things a man is to provide for his family is security. Anyone that fails to provide for his own family is worse than an infidel. So says Paul, the apostle to Jesus and writer of the majority of the New Testament. Quote from Pastor Chuck Baldwin, by the way, a great man of God. I suggest you Google him and read his material. What about the Second Amendment? Where does one find the right to keep and bear arms in the Scriptures? Look no further than Luke 11:21, where Jesus said, When a strong man armed keeps his palace, his goods are in peace. I know at one point Peter told Jesus to put up his sword, but he did not tell him to give up his sword. Now, I know a lot of people will say, but those who live by the sword die by the sword. Well, that's why we carry guns. But the bottom line in this gun control issue is this incessant behavior with denying one's basic right to self-defense is just insanity, thus proving Jeremiah's prophecy fulfilled. Jeremiah 50:38. A drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up, for it is a land of graven images, and they are mad or insane upon their idols. Final thought from Gray Eagle. I fear the government that fears its citizens who own guns. And be sure to check out P.P. Simmons' video on YouTube. Great gun control video he did there. accurate and right down the line. And if you want to read an article on this latest massacre in Tucson, go to Google and use keyword shooter pattern psychiatric. That's it. Thank you. God bless you today.